she's not a complete fighter, is she? I'm not a complete fighter. She definitely isn't either, so.
Né, penso em todo o meu treinamento, em tudo que eu me preparei.
As I'm there every session working and I know I haven't skipped anything, I haven't gone the easy route, then I'll be confident when I step in the cage.
When you look into the eyes of a Dakota Ditcheva opponent, before the bell rings, you see hope, you see a game plan, you see a lifetime of training distilled into a belief that they are the one to solve the puzzle. But when you look at them after, you see the deer in the headlights look that we haven't seen since the early days of McGregor or the prime of Ronda Rousey. To fight Dakota is to accept a permanent change in your career's DNA. Before we crack this fight wide open, hit like and subscribe to the Band-Aid Battalion MMA. This is where real fight fans report for duty. Let's start with Lisa Malden.
I expect a war, that's what I expect. I know she hits hard and I'm not scared of that. I'm ready for it. Opportunities, I'm ready for any opportunity.
Before she stepped into the cage with the dangerous Ditcheva, Malden was a woman looking to make a massive statement on the global stage of the PFL. She came in with a gritty, American wrestling-based foundation, believing that the way to beat a pretty striker from England was to make it ugly, to push her against the fence, to take her breath away. Malden walked into that arena with the confidence of a woman who thought she found a flaw in the diamond. But the after for Lisa Malden was a sobering reality check for the entire flyweight division. Within minutes, the after version of Malden was a fighter who realized that there is no making it ugly when your opponent can strike from every conceivable angle.
Asked her to stand back up. Malden rises. More body shots. This one gets in. First round finish for Dakota Ditcheva.
Dakota didn't just win, she performed an anatomical dissection. The knees to the body, the surgical precision of the straight left it wasn't just a knockout, it was a psychological breaking. Malden went from a hopeful contender to a fighter who looked like she had just survived a natural disaster. The aftermath showed a fighter whose confidence in her wrestling had been completely neutralized by the terrifying realization that you cannot grapple what you cannot catch. Then came Chelsea Hackett.
Yeah, you know, like props to her. She's undefeated. She's stopped 90% of her opponents. So people can say what they want, but she's backed it up until now.
This was supposed to be the strikers' battle. Before this fight, Chelsea Hackett was touted as the Australian phenom, a Muay Thai specialist who had been forged in the fires of elite kickboxing. She didn't fear the stand-up game because the stand-up game was her home.
The reason I fight is because it's in my blood. It's all I've done.
She walked to the smart cage with a swagger, believing that she had the technique to match Ditcheva blow for blow. She thought this would be a high-level chess match of shins and elbows. The after, however, was a masterclass in the difference between being a good striker and being a generational assassin. Dakota Ditcheva didn't play chess. She burned the board. The after Hackett was a fighter who looked bewildered by the speed. It wasn't just that she was getting hit. It was that she was getting hit by things she never saw coming. Dakota's ability to transition from a head kick into a devastating knee in the clinch left Hackett defenseless. By the time the referee stepped in, the after version of Chelsea Hackett was a fighter who had seen her own specialty turned against her with 10 times the force. She left the cage not just with a loss, but with the haunting knowledge that there were levels to the striking game she hadn't even imagined existed. But the world still doubted. They said, wait until she faces a real grappler. Wait until she faces someone who can take the air out of the room. That challenge came in the form of Jenna Bishop.
Our fight, and then it kind of surprised me when I watched her and Dakota too, that she was just kind of super hesitant. I stay ready at all times.
I like it, let's go.
That's something I've always done.
Before facing Dakota, Jenna Bishop was the bogeyman of the division. An undefeated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, Bishop was the specialist that everyone assumed would be Dakota's undoing.
There's a tap! First round finish!
Jenna Bishop!
The narrative was set. If Bishop gets her hands on her, it's over. Bishop entered the cage with the cold, calculated stare of a predator who knew exactly where the finish line was. She was the before, undefeated, feared, and tactically superior on the ground. The after for Jana Bishop is perhaps the most famous breaking in PFL history. It took less than one round for the world to see that Dakota Ditcheva's grappling defense was a fortress. But it was the offensive after that shocked everyone.
Is going to be unbelievable. There it is. Beautiful knee.
Dakota didn't just stay standing. She punished Bishop for every inch of space she tried to close. The liver shot that ended the fight didn't just fold Bishop's body. It folded the narrative that Dakota was a one-dimensional fighter.
Beckons Jana Bishop back to her feet and goes immediately on the attack. Bishop in trouble.
After Jana Bishop was a fighter who had been stripped of her primary weapon.
Dangerous Dakota!
When a world-class grappler realizes they cannot get the striker to the floor, their entire identity as a fighter vanishes. Bishop left the cage having lost her undefeated record and her aura of grappling invincibility in less than 4 minutes of work.
Bishop back to her feet and goes immediately on the attack.
Bishop in trouble.
And that does it.
Finally, we reached the summit, the ultimate before and after, Taylor Santos.
Tá mais perto do meu objetivo, mais perto de realizar o meu sonho.
What proof has she got for that? Because I'm not being funny, but she's never won a belt, as she said. Like,
Então eu entrei para ser campeã dessa temporada.
there's no limit to how high I'm gonna go. I'm sticking around for a long time for sure.
This was the fight that was supposed to reveal the truth. Taylor Santos wasn't just another prospect. She was a UFC veteran who many believe actually beat the legendary Valentina Shevchenko. Santos was the physical titan of the flyweight division, strong, durable, and possessed of a championship medal that had been tested in the deepest waters of the sport.
I'm there every session working, and I know I haven't skipped anything. I haven't gone the easy route.
Before fighting Dakota, Santos was the heavy favorite in the minds of the hardcore fans. She was the one who would bring the kid back down to earth. She was the before, a looming shadow of UFC-level excellence. But the after at the 2024 PFL World Championship was the birth of a new era. Dakota Ditcheva didn't just beat Taylor Santos. She out-hustled, outstruck, and outthought the woman who nearly dethroned Valentina. The after version of Taylor Santos was a fighter who looked exhausted, not just physically, but spiritually. Dakota's relentless pace and her refusal to be bullied against the fence forced Santos into a type of fight she wasn't prepared for. By the 4th and 5th rounds, Santos looked like a fighter who was staring at a wall she couldn't climb.
Should you back out to where she wants you? There's that bottom of the foot to the face again.
When the decision was announced,
She's in big trouble. Dakota Ditcheva to the bottom.
and the $1 million check was handed over, the transformation was complete. The before Santos was a terrifying veteran. The after Santos was a woman who had been ushered into the role of the old guard by a young lioness who refused to show respect. Dakota didn't just win a title. She ended the relevance of the previous generation. Look at the faces of these women: Lisa Maudin, Chelsea Hackett, Jana Bishop, and Taylor Santos. Before they fought Dakota, they were lions. After they fought her, they were survivors. They all enter the cage thinking they can handle the storm. But Dakota Ditcheva isn't a storm you handle. She is a storm you endure. And most don't have the shelter to stay standing when the wind starts to howl. She is the new Notorious. She is the real deal.
Silences the doubters.
And as she sits atop her $1 million throne, the rest of the world is left looking at her with the same expression those opponents had in the cage, wide-eyed, breathless, and wondering how someone can be that fast, that precise, and that terrifyingly creative. The question is no longer how good is Dakota Ditcheva. The question is, who is brave enough to be the next before? Because we already know what the after looks like. It looks like a long, quiet walk back to the locker room, wondering where it all went wrong, and realizing that you just shared the cage with the future of mixed martial arts. The game moves fast, and Dakota Ditcheva is moving faster. From the regional scenes in England to the lights of Madison Square Garden, She has proven that she isn't here to take part. She is here to take over. And if you're a flyweight in any organization on this planet, you better start preparing for the after, because the before version of your career is already on borrowed time. The Dakota Ditcheva effect is real, and the Band-Aid Battalion is here to witness every second of it. Let us know in the comments. Is there anyone in the UFC or PFL who can actually stop this woman? Or are we looking at the first undefeated female GOAT in the making?